seniors. All right, I'm gonna turn the recorder on. All right, welcome everybody. It's Thursday afternoon, May 14th. Two more classes after today, and then we'll put a bow on it or stick a fork in it and call it done. A couple of you folks said that DISC thing, which I thought I had attached to the Blackbaud problem set. Two of you said that you couldn't pull it up. I copied and pasted that from a floppy that I have here from MZ. So I'm not sure why it failed, but I'll take a look at it. We had Microsoft Internet had a problem with all our emails here at school yesterday. It might have attributed to it. I'm not sure. But another way to do it, which is actually better and easier and probably more accurate, if you go to that www.foundationsu.com, not the digital foundations, foundationsu.com, and then just click on high school, all right, and up at the top, and I can put instructions, I guess, online. There's a thing called chapter activities, and then if you go to chapter 11, which is what we're doing right now, and on careers and taxes, there's a thing there called DISC profile, DISC, which is their acronym. And it's actually better than the one I attached online, which that's a paper one. This one, it's a series of 12 questions, but each question has 2 questions. It's really 24 questions. And it asks you, it gives you various scenarios, and you have to pick. One of them asks, what's the most likely outcome or thing you would do in this situation? What's the least likely thing that you would do in this situation? I just did a little bit ago just to try it out, and it takes you 15 minutes to do. Man, 15, maybe 20.
That do like to buy whatever.
I'm sorry?
What does this do, sir?
It's not do it all because there's no right or wrong answer. I'd encourage you to do it. As it kind of tells you, how your brain works and how you approach things. And then it also gives you careers or professions that are suited to your disposition and how you handle and manage things. And it would also help you here at school. You kind of learn something about yourself. So I would encourage you to do it. It's 20 minutes. I'll try to, maybe we'll just do 2 videos today, and I'll give you, cut class short, and you could use part of class time to do it. So I encourage you to do it. It's like I said, you'll learn something about yourself. All right. So that's that. Let's see here. The chapter 7 test that's on that.
Sir, did you say that we didn't have to turn that in?
No, because there's no right or wrong answer, and if you do it online, it's going to give you kind of a report or an analysis, which I don't need to see. I mean, I'd be curious to see if that makes sense. So that's right. But again, you kind of learn kind of how you approach various things, particularly like when you're challenged either athletically, academically, in a job situation. It kind of then also will give you some careers and professions that are kind of suited to how you're wired and how you approach various deals. Okay. Mr. Herman, I never got, did you take the chapter 7 test online?
Yeah.
Is it in the last day or so? When I checked after last class, it was still showing blank.
I finished it right before last class.
Okay, I'll double check on that. And then I may have to have you go back in, or I might have to recycle it for you because it wasn't showing a grade. And then I had talked to Mr. Tennyson and Mr. Shaw that it showed that you had taken it, but it didn't post a grade, which was weird. So I was going to recycle yours to take it again when I mentioned it to you briefly in class on Tuesday. But when I went in after class, they had a grade for you. So disregard that conversation. Let's see what else we got. Give me one more second. I'm just checking over my notes. I'm trying to play catch up. All right. So I think that's all the housekeeping chores. All right. Anybody have any questions for me? Otherwise, we're going to continue with careers and taxes. And I've got a couple questions for you as far as what will be most beneficial to knock out next week. In this chapter, it has a couple things that we may want to do next week, or I may just want to provide you. If any of you guys are out scratching around for a summer job, part of this chapter, I've got a kind of a guide, and there's hundreds of thousands of them out there on how to create a resume that you may want to have if you are out scratching around for a summer job. And so I can post that for you one day next week, and it's kind of a template, and you can create your own resume with your educational experiences, athletic experiences, any other previous job experiences, your volunteer experiences, that you can walk into the door and provide a HR person that you may be interviewing with for a summer job. So if anybody's doing that, just holler out either in class sometime today. If you want to do that, we can do that one day next week. There's also an exercise on how to read a pay stub, which may be beneficial to you because pay stubs are as complicated. If you look at some of your parents, like electric bills and water bills and credit card bills, they've made them so complicated. You almost have to be, analytically inclined to decipher the information on there and figure out what's important, what's not. That's another thing we can do next week. And one other thing is, along with that resume, there's a nice kind of Q&A situation if you are going to be job hunting for the summer on what are the typical questions that you may be asked when you go in to apply for a job. And it's always nice, like, if you kind of know the kind of things that you're going to be asked, and you've kind of formulated in your mind or head how to answer them, you'll probably come across better and, may set you above and apart of other people that are maybe also interviewing for the same job. So we can do that next week. Any thoughts, comments, or recommendations on that? I guess we lost Mr. Williams. Guess he didn't put his computer in. Anybody? Is anybody out there right now scratching around for a summer job? Some people have already actually started summer jobs.
I am.
Coach got three jobs right now.
So you're all square, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I'll probably just post it online on Tuesday, maybe before class, so you can take a look at it. And if you need it, use it. And if you don't, no harm, no foul. All right. So are we ready? So today,
Yes, sir. Let's get it going, Coach.
okay, we're going to knock out 2 videos anyway. And like I said, I'll just do 2. I was going to do 3. And then if you want to go to the foundationsu.com, click on high school, click on chapter activities, click on chapter 11, careers and taxes, and then click on disc profile. I'd like to see you do it because, like I said, you'll learn something about yourself that may be helpful. All right, so we're going to do 2 videos today. One is on goal setting, and that's always great. Probably need some little motivational speaking right now. Goal setting as far as education, day-to-day life, careers, and those kind of things. And then also then start talking about that first job or kind of entry-level jobs. All right? Questions before we fire it up? All right, and here we go. That.
I've had 2 very different experiences with half marathons. The first half marathon I ran was one of the worst days of my life. It was a mess. You know how people say they hit that wall when they run? I hit that wall at about mile 1. I was exhausted. I ended up walking 3 or 4 miles. At the end of the day, I couldn't even move. I just laid in bed. I couldn't drive home from the event. I was a mess. I felt sore on every part of my body. Why? Because I didn't train. I decided to try to run it because my wife and her friend thought I couldn't run it. So I ran on spite mostly. I didn't train. I didn't come up with any plan. I just ran out of frustration and said, I'll show them. I'll run this race. And I was horrible. It was the worst day. The second one, the second half marathon I ran, was awesome. It was so fun. It was such a good day. It was one of the best days of my life. Why? Because I set some goals. I approached it and set some goals the smart way. I came up with a strategy. I read a lot about half marathons. I downloaded a training plan, and day by day, week by week, I got ready for that big event. You want to write a book. You want to go to college. You want to join the military. You've got this big goal, and you need to break it down into smaller goals, into smaller ideas that you can work on. And as you do that, you've got to keep a few things in mind. Sometimes it's tempting to just focus on one area of our life and ignore all the others. But if you really want your goals to work, if you really want your life to work, if you really want success, you've got to make sure that in each part of your life, you have some goals. So in your career side, maybe you want to get an after-school job. Maybe you want to intern one summer. Maybe you want to be smart about which classes you take at school for college down the road. Think about your career. What are your career goals? Think about your financial goals. How are you going to pay for college? How are you going to pay for books and all the things that come in an average semester? How do you need to be smart with your money now so that later you'll have more of it to spend? Maybe you want to go to Europe when you're in college. Maybe you want to go abroad for a whole semester. How will you pay for that? What are your spiritual goals? I mean, maybe that's something you need to focus on. Maybe you need to think about joining a church or a temple or wherever you get spiritual nourishment, plugging back into that. What are your physical goals? Maybe like me, you want to run a race. Maybe you want to do something different. Maybe you want to join a team. Maybe you want to get a bike and travel around the country. What are some physical goals? Maybe you just need more sleep. You know, the average person needs 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Maybe one of your goals is nap more. Can you imagine that goal? What are your educational goals? What's an area of school that you need to focus on more? What's a class you want to take? What's a club you want to join? What are your family goals? I mean, maybe you want to make sure that when you leave for college someday or when you leave the house that you've got a strong relationship with your dad or your mom. And right now you need to focus on that. What are your social goals? I mean, do you want to have more friends or deeper relationships? Do you want to join an activity or a club and become friends with other people? In each area of your life, start to look for that so that you're one consistent person, one whole person that has goals in each section. So how do you set some goals? How do you make sure that they're not so difficult? Well, the first thing is they have to be measurable. You have to be able to list them and check them off so that you can mark your progress. So for instance, if I said that, you know what, I want to be more grateful. I think being entitled is a great way to wreck your job and your relationship. So I want to be more grateful this year. I would need to measure that. And the way I might do it is say, okay, I want to write so many thank you notes that I empty the box. And so what I'd do is I'd get a box of thank you notes and I'd count the notes and I'd say, okay, there's 52 notes. I need to write one thank you note every week. And then I'd make a list and I'd check it off one by one. Your goals also have to be specific. You can't say, this year I want to be healthy. No, you have to say, this year I'm not going to eat after 7 o'clock, or I'm not going to eat fried food, or I'm not going to do these things, or I am going to do these other things. You've got to be specific. Your goals also have to have time limits. If they go on and on with no end in sight, you'll get discouraged. So you need to say, this month I'm doing this, or by this date I will have accomplished this. They also have to be your goals. They can't be somebody else's goals. You can't spend your life chasing your mom's goals. You can't spend your life chasing somebody else's goals. You have to make sure that they are unique and individual to your life. And they also have to be written down. You can't just keep them up in here or even in here. You've got to write them down on a piece of paper. Write down your goals. A lot of people write theirs on Post-it notes, and they put them up on the mirror so that every day, every morning they get up, they can see that. And they can say, okay, that's what I'm going to accomplish. And it also helps if you'll have some accountability. I mean, you need some people in your life that are holding you accountable. That's why it's so much easier to work out with a partner. You'll go to the gym more often, work harder, and be more dedicated if you have a workout buddy. And the same holds true on every part of your life. You've also got to eliminate distractions. A lot of us have the best intentions. We know what we want to do. We know how to do it. We have a list of goals and then we don't do it. Why don't we do it? Because we get distracted. I mean, that's why the average American watches over 30 hours of TV every week. And that's nobody's goal, right? I mean, nobody's dream is, I want to watch 30 hours of TV this year, every week. That's my goal. That's my dream. My daddy was a TV man. My daddy's daddy was a TV man. That's my goal. But we kind of just stumble into that, don't we? We get distracted. So maybe in your life, you need to look at your goals and say, what are the distractions I need to eliminate? And maybe you need to turn off your phone when you work on a goal, or turn off the TV, or not go to a loud coffee shop. Maybe you need to focus on your goals at the library and eliminate some of those distractions. Because the truth is, if you want to run a really good half marathon, if you want to get into that college you've always wanted to go to, if you want to accomplish something big, you've got to start with something small. You've got to start with very specific, measurable goals. That's how you change your life.
Graduate college. I'm going to a 4-year college and also get my master's degree.
Some of my personal goals are mainly to be successful. Not fully, I want to be rich and have a lot of money, but at least be able to afford a good home, be able to take care of bills and food financially, because I know me and my family have struggled a lot throughout our life with dealing with money. So that's not something that I want to continue on in my life.
I want to go to college and be a detective.
I would like to continue my music career with cello, and I do video work too, so I'd like to continue that, and also possibly teaching.
To go to college and graduate at least.
My personal goals are to make it through college, get it paid for, and go on to medical school and become a pediatrician.
Finish high school, then start college.
Probably to get to college, and of course my most important one, getting to Hawaii, so I want to live there one day.
I want to go to college and go into graphics and arts and design.
I guess graduate high school and then move on to the Army.
Getting everything figured out for college, because right now just thinking about which ones else to go to, figuring out the pay for a future job, getting everything planned, just getting ready.
Well, after I graduate high school, I want to go to college and I want to become a dental hygienist.
Honestly, be the first one out of my family to go to college.
Any thoughts, comments?
I liked what he was saying before. He was asking the kids the questions about the goals.
Yeah. Writing, have deadlines.
Yeah, having deadlines and time to do stuff.
Yeah, small little chunks or pieces. The old how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, right? I like the post-it on the mirror in your bathroom. That way you see it every day to remind you. All right. Have a deadline and have it so you can measure your progress. Any other thoughts, comments? Good stuff there. Good stuff to think about. All right. Let's try the next one. Let's see. Last call. All right. Let's see here. Give me a second to set her up. That's the right one.
I want to be a teacher, and it really just depends on your degree, how much you get paid or not.
I want to be an actor, but it varies if you find work. So
I'd say about 75,000 a year, maybe.
About 45,000, 50,000 a year.
I want to be a professional football player, and I don't know, it just depends on your position and stuff, what team you play for, but I know it pays millions, billions, so.
I don't know. I guess it would have to depend on how good you are at it.
About 75 grand beginning. Later on, probably in the 100 grand.
I really have no clue. Good money.
I'm sure probably at least $1 million.
50,000 to probably $100,000.
A lot. I don't know.
Hopefully a lot. But if not, that's okay, I guess.
I'll never forget, after I graduated from college, I woke up one morning and thought, oh my gosh, I have to go to work. Sure, I loved my job, but in college, everything was a choice. Now, if I wanted to eat, keep my lights on, and pay my rent, I had to go to work. That day and every weekday that followed. Welcome to being an adult. Growing up and living in the real world took a little getting used to. I also remember being shocked at the bills. Things I used to take for granted, like cable and food, were now my responsibility. It's basically like, if you've got the money, you eat, and if you don't, well, you don't. Get this, the average rent on a one-bedroom apartment in most cities is about $750 a month. And for water and electricity, which are kind of important too, we're talking about $200 a month. Food will cost you around $250 a month, and yes, that's just for one person. That's $1,200 a month already. Now, college graduates who actually get a job in their field might start out with $35,000 to $45,000 a year. But if you factor in graduates who are unemployed or underemployed because they can't find work in their career field, the average salary drops to around $27,000. That comes out to about $1,800 a month after taxes. Yes, I said taxes. Don't expect to see all of that $27,000 come home with you. That's because taxes will eat up between 20 to 25% of your paycheck. That only leaves about $600 a month for things like transportation, clothes, cable, a cell phone. Not to mention saving, giving, and having fun with your friends. Look, being an adult is a blast. I'm not trying to scare you off. I just want you to be prepared. The real world is full of both opportunity and responsibility. You might think that having a full-time job means you're able to go out and buy whatever you want, but that's just not real life. That's why it's crucial to know how to budget now. Many teens expect to live like their parents right out of college. You know, a big house with nice furniture, a new car. But here's the deal. Your parents didn't have all of those things when they were starting out. If you don't believe me, just ask them. Listen to the story of their humble beginnings. Their first apartment or car, or where they used to go out to eat for dinner. Someday you'll look back on your first car with one working window or your Craigslist coffee table and you'll laugh. Because they are pieces of junk, sure, but those little sacrifices paved a way for a great future. The truth is, it takes time and being smart with your money to build wealth. So get an education, budget your income, save for big items, and invest early for your future. As you move up in your career, your income will grow. And if you do what we teach, you will win with money.
For me personally, it was a matter of I'd played football and I knew that I would love to play at the next level. I had an agent that seemed to think that me going to the Canadian Football League would potentially lead to the NFL. So that was in my head. I also had a desire that I knew I wanted to move forward and go into the law enforcement field, FBI specifically. So I knew I had grad school on my mind with that standpoint. Then there was a promoter, a boxer, that wanted to sponsor me to be a boxer for 2 years. They were going to pay me a salary to all I had to do was train and lift weights and learn how to box. So what was I supposed to do? I was sitting down, I was mulling over this, trying to figure it out. What do I do? What's the smartest thing for me to do right now? My grandmother walks in, and she said, Chris, what are you doing? I said, Nan, that's what I called her. I said, I am really trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do right now. I'm confused, and I have a lot of options, but I want to do the thing that's best for me down the road. And she looked at me and she sat down and she talked and she let me talk to her about each of the three. I went through details, talking about pros and cons, the numbers, the money. And she says, honey, what you need to do is you need to simply do this one thing. You need to grab a hold of the opportunity and throw the chances away. That statement would become kind of my battle cry for people, to essentially focus on the things that are going to bring you an opportunity and throw away the chances. So how do you do that? Well, you had to sit down and begin to look at them. What's the bottom line result that can happen if you do choice A, choice B, and choice C? And is it leading you somewhere? If it's not leading you somewhere, to me, that's a chance. There's a chance, 50-50. It could go well, there's 50% chance that it may not. So you want to look at the thing that's going to give you an option, an opportunity for down the road to build yourself and your career.
Coolidge said this. He said, nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan, Press On, has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race.
All right. What'd you think? I was surprised at the salaries, you know, 27 to 35,000 were, some were thinking they'd come out of college making 145. Big difference between 145 and 35. You saw about the, if you tallied up the expenses, she was rattling off the 750 for rent, the 200 for water and electricity, the 150 or 200 for groceries. Didn't talk anything about car insurance or car payments, but that was a quick 12 or 1,300 bucks each month right off the bat. Other thoughts, comments, questions?
Did you have, if you had to answer the journal question, what would you say?
If I had answered which question?
The journal questions, like the work experience that you had that helped you out.
You know, from my experience, and also I've got kids that are just wrapping up college and have just recently gotten out of college. I think one thing he didn't really mention, but if you can kind of hook up with a mentor and someone that will bring you along in whatever the profession or career is that you are going into, that goes a long way. That's kind of long. Sometimes you hear the phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I would throw that into the mix. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, but a couple things to think about.
I answered it.
Answer it. I mean, career-wise, I've gone through like 3 major careers. My degrees were in the agricultural field, and I worked for the States Department of Agriculture for my first few years out of college up in D.C. And then this was well before your guys' time, but the air traffic controllers went out on strike during the Reagan administration, and he gave 48 hours to come back. And only about 2,000 of the 14,000 controllers came back. So they had to basically rebuild the whole system. And there was opportunities there for quick advancement and much better salary. And Reagan also didn't like Department of Agriculture and what we were doing. And And so I was in D.C. on a Friday working for the United States Department of Agriculture, and on Sunday I was in Oklahoma City working for the United States Department of Transportation. And I did that for 31 years. And then, I've been here 9 years. So I've had kind of three major careers. And within the Department of my air traffic days, I worked at three major facilities for quite a length of that time, and two minor facilities. So that's 5 there, 6, 7. So that's about what he said, about 7 different careers. So that first career out of college isn't an end-all, be-all, end-all thing. It's a starting point and a launching pad, and you don't have to this is a life, life decision here. What's my first job out of college or out of trade school? Because you're going to move around as you become more educated in whatever the field you are, and looking for better opportunities, better career and professional experiences, better salaries. So gone are the days of my parents or grandparents where you came out and you worked for General Electric or for Chevrolet or for General Motors or for RCA or whoever for 35 years and you retired there. That used to happen back in the right after World War II in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, but it's really no longer the case. Other thoughts, comments? All right, so why don't we do this? We got not quite 15 minutes left. So why don't we do this? I'm asking you, it's up to you, but I think it's a learning experience for yourself, and you'll learn something about yourself. If you don't do it right after class, jot this down or make a couple notes here. Go to the www.foundationsu.com website and just click on high school. That's where we are. And up at the top, it says chapter activities. Click on that. And then come down and you'll have to click on chapter 11, which is careers and taxes, which is where this is. And then it'll have probably 15 or 18 different things there that you can do. Look for the DISC profile. It's D-I-S-C, which is the acronym for this. And pull it up. And like I said, it's 12 questions, but each question is 2 parts. It gives you a little scenario. It says, pick the most likely answer, and then it's kind of almost the same questions, and then pick the least likely answer. And you do the 12 questions, and once you're done, it'll kind of give you a report of, what your makeup is and how you approach challenges and decisions and work and philosophy on life. And then it also will give you some that your disposition is suited for. Again, it's a one size fits all, and it's not like, okay, I got to become an electrician, or I got to become an engineer, I got to become a doctor, but at least kind of tells you what your present makeup is suited for. Like I've said in a couple of things, if you love your work, going to work is not a job. All right. Questions?
When's it due?
Somebody's got allergies for COVID.
When's it due, sir?
It's not due because there's no right or wrong.
Okay.
I don't know how you'd put it in a report if you do it online anyway. It's for your kind of learn something about yourself, and I encourage you to do it. I'm not going to make you do it with a grade, but I would encourage you to do it because you'll maybe learn some things about yourself that you didn't really know.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
Any other questions or comments?
Love you.
All right, everybody have a good weekend, and we will see you Tuesday at noon. Next Tuesday at noon.
Mr. Gavin, have a good one, sir.
All right, you too. We'll see you.